ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the American Legion, Chris Hansen, Post 203, and Veterans of Foreign Wars, Bernard Ebert, Post 1652, I would like to welcome you all to our Memorial Day service. It is well of us to remember the origins of Memorial Day, originally known as Decoration Day. It originated in the years following the Civil War. By the late 1860s, Americans in various towns and cities had begun holding springtime tributes to these countless fallen soldiers, decorating their graves with flowers and reciting prayers. But during World War I, the United States found itself embroiled in another major conflict, and the holiday evolved to commemorate all military personnel who died in all wars. It was not until 1968 that the last Monday in May was federally recognized as Memorial Day. I will now ask Chaplain Delevaux to deliver our invocation.
Please bow with me in prayer. Gracious God, as we gather today in remembrance of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice, grant that we may appreciate and treasure the freedom that is our gift and our heritage. May we never forget the great price at which it was purchased for us all. We remember today not only our fallen brothers and sisters, but also all who continue to serve. Protect and defend them. Grant that they serve with honor and dignity. Father, we ask that you will watch over the veterans of our land. Comfort our hurting and wounded comrades. Lighten their burden. Relieve their suffering and pain, and restore to them the blessing of health. And for those who have given all, we thank you for them and their sacrifice. We ask that you would bring peace, comfort, and honor to their families. God, we thank you for the gift of freedom, which you have bestowed upon us. May we never forget you, your provision, or for those who have sacrificed everything. We ask all of this in your powerful name. Amen.
In Flanders Field, the poppies blow, between the crosses, row on row, that mark our place, and in the sky, the larks still bravely singing fly. Scarce heard amid the guns below, we are the dead, short days ago. We lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved, and now we lie in Flanders Field. Take up our quarrel with the foe, to you from falling hands we throw. The torch be yours to hold it high. If you break faith with us who died, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders Field. Ladies and gentlemen, I would be a bit remiss today if I did not take a moment to mention an important piece of history that our country has lost in the last couple of months. Lieutenant Colonel Richard Cole passed away back in April. For those of you that can remember the histories, Lieutenant Colonel Cole was the co-pilot of Lieutenant Colonel Jimmy Doolittle's plane as they took off from the USS Hornet on the morning of 18 April 1942 on their mission to go and bomb Tokyo. Lieutenant Colonel Cole was the last surviving member of the Doolittle Raiders. Now, all of the silver goblets in Dayton, Ohio have now been turned over. It is now my pleasure, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce our speaker today, Colonel John Rye. Colonel Rye is a son of McCook, graduating from McCook High School. He went on to further his education with a bachelor's degree at Kansas State and then a master's degree at the University of St. Mary's. Colonel Rye served our great nation for 22 years in the United States Air Force flying the C-130s. Colonel Rye's service includes deployments during Operations Southern Watch, Allied Force, Iraqi Freedom, New Dawn, and Enduring Freedom. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Rye, United States Air Force.
Thanks. What a place. Wow, this is really impressive. McCook Memorial Park Cemetery, the Veterans Memorial. I'd like to welcome all the distinguished guests, distinguished visitors, any vets in the crowd, family, friends, and all the proud patriotic Americans we have here today. A special welcome and thanks to all the men and women of the McCook American Legion Post 203 and all who put this together today. It doesn't just happen. That's one of those things that takes effort and commitment and that time off of your busy schedule, so thank you. My fellow brother-in-arms, Kyle Kunke, asked if I'd say a few words, and he promised me we'd drink a couple of beers and tell some stories afterwards. So, as you can see, I jumped at the chance, and I'm humbled and deeply honored to stand here with all of you and commemorating the sacrifices of our past loved ones, the men and women who laid down their lives in service to this nation. And I also can't wait to have a beer afterwards and hear the stories of remembrance. And it's really through those stories and those thoughts, both happy and sad, silly or heroic, that they're gonna never leave us. As we stand here and think of all the sacrifices that our military men and women made for us, I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to anyone who's lost a loved one in the line of duty in this country. It doesn't matter how much time has passed. No words of condolence can even begin to adequately console a survivor's grief. While that grief from loss may change throughout the years, it never leaves us. So thank you for your love, your stories and thoughts, and your sacrifice. On every last Monday in May, we find ourselves reflecting on these men and women who so bravely risk life and limb in the face of grave danger. We remember those who left the comforts of home to fight for us and our freedom, but then never returned to one day trade that title of soldier, sailor, airman, Coast Guardsman, or Marine for veteran. We mourn our brothers and sisters in arms the day they left us, and we mourn them now. The men and women who gave their lives in service to this nation are indisputably heroes. When our country called, they answered. Some volunteered and some were voluntold, but no matter how they found their way into the ranks of the military, each took it upon him or herself to serve faithfully and to their fullest. And this is commendable in a nation where so few of our citizens have donned the uniform and accepted the inherent risks. And this alone makes them heroes worthy of remembrance. For some of our veterans, we were unable to pay their respects at a final resting place. There are still more than 82,000 military personnel missing in action from every conflict since World War II. We will never forget them, and we will never stop looking to bring them home. We should also never forget the civilians, service personnel of other nations, and the families and friends of those who suffer and continue to suffer through war. We today and every day remember all who paid the supreme sacrifice so that we and the people of other nations can live in peace. We remember the gallant pilots who flew hazardous missions over Europe and the Pacific. That includes the Army Air Corps, the Marine Corps pilots, all the Navy pilots, the pilots that flew with the Royal Air Force, and even the WASPs. Those are the Women Air Force Service pilots. We remember the sailors and submariners who were away from home for long periods in dangerous areas, fighting to keep our vital sea lanes open. We remember the Marines that died in Quezon. We remember the soldiers who were called upon to launch the epic battles in Italy, Germany, France, Philippines, Japan, Flanders Field, just to name a few. We remember those who became prisoners of war, who continue to suffer with physical and mental scars, the next of kin who grieve and the sense of loss can never be eased. This past August, you may have heard the ill-fated USS Indianapolis was finally discovered, more than 70 years after being torpedoed by a Japanese submarine. On July 30th, 1945, the ship was sunk in just 12 minutes. Of the 1,195 crew on board, approximately 300 went down with the cruiser. The remaining soldiers and Marines faced exposure, dehydration, saltwater poisoning, delirium, and shark attacks while floating in the Philippine Sea, with very few lifeboats, preservers, food, or water. The Navy didn't even learn of the sinking until survivors were spotted 4 days later by a flight crew on a routine patrol, and as a result, there were only 316 surviving Marines and sailors. You may have seen the movie. The families of those on board that were lost on board the USS Indianapolis received a small sense of closure last year. They're still part of a club that no one asks to join. While service members and their families understand and accept the risks that they take by volunteering to serve our great nation, nothing can fully prepare a survivor for that knock on the door. It isn't just war at sea, in the air, or with boots on the ground, thousands of miles away where we've lost service members. It also happens right here at home. I think it's important to never forget that the profession of arms is a dangerous job. Earlier this year, 3 aviation crashes in 3 different states resulted in 7 fatalities, 4 of the military personnel. It's a tragic loss of life, and we honor the following lives that were cut short of service. Captain Samuel Schultz, First Lieutenant Sam Phillips, Gunnery Sergeant Richard Hawley, Lance Corporal Taylor Conrad, Chief Warrant Officer Ryan Connolly, Warrant Officer James Casadona, and Major Stephen Vilbagno. Those of us here today understand that to recognize their service and sacrifice, we must ensure these individuals are never forgotten and that their actions stay alive in our memories and in our hearts. It's important for honoring those heroes of today and the veterans of years gone by who've paved the way for them. This is also a day of thanks and quiet reflection on what a wonderful nation we live in. It's a time to reflect on America's commitment to continue to contribute to peace in the world. In a perfect world, there'd be no wars, no aggression, and no requirement to maintain a defense force. Unfortunately, this is not a perfect world. Where necessary to preserve peace, we must continue to prepare and deploy our forces and fight and protect our friends, our nation, and those that need our support. Some may say a day like this glorifies war, but I know many active duty service members and veterans that would be first to say that their greatest wish and fervent prayer is that their children in this nation may never have to witness the horrors of war again. There's a nationwide campaign underway to recognize veterans in conjunction with the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. The disabled American vets have played an active role in this, honoring veterans who served during a tumultuous time with a humble thank you from a grateful nation and a pin to signify their service. But there are nearly 60,000 people who will never receive that token of appreciation or that genuine thanks. As of Memorial Day last year, 58,318 names lined the Vietnam Wall in Washington, which remains a striking visual of the cost of war. One of those names belongs to Lieutenant Colonel Anne Ruth Graham, who served in World War II, Korea, and was the chief nurse at the 91st Evacuation Hospital in Vietnam. She was 52 years old when she died after being evacuated to Japan and is buried with full military honors at Arlington National Cemetery. Private First Class James Anderson Jr. became the first African-American U.S. Marine recipient of the Medal of Honor in 1967. He received the honor posthumously after intentionally grabbing a grenade and absorbing the blast in order to save his comrades. Another name on the wall is Sergeant Robert G. Davidson. He joined the Marine Corps at age 14 and had 4 years of service in the military when he was shipped off to Vietnam. He was killed in action on December 17, 1966, one day before his 19th birthday. And there are at least 4 names on the wall from McCook, Nebraska. Navy Lieutenant Junior Grade Michael Steele Confer. He was single and he was a pilot shot down in North Vietnam. There was an Army Private First Class Stanley Wayne Doak. He was single and killed in South Vietnam with small arms fire. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant John Thomas Gage. He was married and died as a result of wounds from a mortar. And finally, Air Force Captain Michael Lee Klingner. He was married and a pilot who never returned and was never found. Of the million or so plus men and women who died in American military service, a vast majority of those are everyday heroes. They're brothers and sisters who fought alongside us, who've left unfillable holes in families, communities, and hearts across this country. Their friendships, their bravery, and their commitment to duty will never be lost. We have a vast country with incredible beauty and open skies and Griff that can fly over, which help to shape healthy, confident, competitive, innovative, and freedom-loving individuals who, through good leadership and high motivation, can more than match the best in the world at whatever they choose to do. And we've been doing this since we started fighting to become a country. We have the ability to face challenges together and overcome them, to put community before self, to be courageous, determined, self-reliant, and strong. We should be proud of our heritage. It is in the spirit that it's that same spirit that our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardsmen have always had and continue to advance for the generations to come. John F. Kennedy, a Navy veteran of World War II, Purple Heart recipient, once said, "As we express our gratitude, we must never forget that the highest appreciation is not to utter words, but to live by them." The 35th President of the United States charged us to take our appreciation a step further with action, and there is no more relevant time to embrace this quote than on Memorial Day. I would ask that as you leave here and go about the rest of your day, to keep the fallen in your minds and in their families and friends in your hearts. For it is their immense collective sacrifices that have helped to keep our country safe and free. And as long as we continue to honor them with our actions and remember their sacrifices, they will never be forgotten. We don't celebrate victory or glorify war, we celebrate the human spirit and what our fallen have so bravely faced so that we could be here today. Thank you for being here, thank you for your spirit, and thank you for your sacrifice.
Colonel Rye. The greatest monuments to our fallen are not made of marble or stone, nor are they known far and wide by the American people. In most of our minds, the greatest monument we can have is a rifle, inverted and stuck in the ground. The helmet, the boots, and the dog tags of the fallen adorn the rifle. In the olden days, a rifle was placed in the ground to mark where the fallen lay so that they could be collected for burial off of the battlefield. Today, we use the warrior's cross as a salute to the fallen. It is a place where fellow brothers and sisters are able to find some closure, say goodbye, and give one final salute to their brother or sisters in arms. Today, our nation gathers to salute our soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who have paid the ultimate price for our freedom. For our nation they served. For our freedom they fell. I know that mere words are not enough. The price they paid for us to be free is a debt that we can never repay. For our nation, they wrote a blank check, and they signed it in blood for the amount up to and including their life. For our nation, they gave up 2 lives. The life they lived and the life they were going to live. As we remember those who have gone on before us, let us not grieve for them, for they don't wish our pity. This day should not be a day filled with sorrow, but let this day be proudly filled with the bold colors of red, white, and blue. While our flag flies low this morning to honor those who died for her, this afternoon, let her fly high with pride. With renewed pride and patriotism, let us always remember why we are free. Chaplain Delevaux will now deliver our benediction.
Please bow again with me. May the truth that makes us free, the hope that never dies, and the love that casts out fear lead us forward together till the dayspring breaks and the shadows flee. The peace of God that passes all understanding, the peace which this world can neither give nor take away, abide with you to bless you this day and forevermore. Amen.